Born to fail, bred to survive. From these streets to the heights I'll thrive.
Life wasn't easy, but I made it mine.
Okay, guys, we got a 2019 Kia Sedona. We're going to go ahead and change the air compressor and the alternator. Air compressor went up. I put off fixing it. Then the alternator started going bad. And I'm glad I put off fixing the air conditioner compressor because you got to kind of take them both off when you replace the alternator. So here's a quick look. You have no access from the top pretty much for the most part. So what you have to do is take this passenger side wheel off, and you have to get underneath here and take off some of these plastic pieces. So that's why I have it jacked up. I'm going to take that wheel off. I have a jack stand under here just for safety. I'll keep both the jack and the jack stand. So I'm going to do this. I'll walk you through the whole process because I'm not finding almost zero videos on this. So let's get to work. Okay, went and gathered some tools of my socket set, a new one, some pliers and screwdrivers, and I have some air ratchets. I obviously have plenty of tools over there, but so I don't have to run back and forth. I just grabbed this one here. So we're going to get started. I'm going to take the wheel off and go from there. All right, so I already had to break into the big toolbox, get a breaker bar and a 1/2-inch drive 21mm socket to get these wheels off. So we're going to go ahead and go ahead and pull that wheel off and go from there. Okay, so the wheel's off. Got me a little restaurant tub to put bolts and stuff in. And you got to take this inside cover off. Looks like it might be split right here. So I'm going to take this off. And we got to take that front plastic off there. So we're going to get to that. Looks like they're the little plastic push pins. So I'll pull one of those out and show you how those work in case you don't know. So there you go. Pulled out a couple. Okay, I pulled out a couple. And what you do is you pull this small pin out and then it'll release the bigger one that's held in the body. So let's try to do one while you're hanging out. So you just get in here, pull it out. Sometimes these are hard. This hard comes right out. See that? So let me go do the rest of them and then we'll take a look. Okay, so this is not a seam per se. It doesn't separate here at the top, but it is a place we can fold this back. I think it's designed like that. And then other thing, if you look underneath here, this little downlit, it's part of this other plastic piece in the front underneath the car. So we got to disconnect that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we get this pulled back. Got that disconnected. And like I said, underneath here, you can see that this is all part of it. So what we're going to do is try to peel this back so that we can get access without having to take anything else off. Let's take a look here. All right, so we got that peeled back. You can see how that seam up here comes into play, but now we got to pull back so we can get in to this area. Now we have to pull this plastic piece off, which entails probably getting this because I think we need to get up underneath here to reach some of the bolts up there. So if we can get the perspective, that's the wheel well and up underneath there. So going to go ahead and pull this plastic piece off, which entails taking out a couple of bolts, probably 10mm. Yeah, looks like mainly these bolts here. And then this plastic piece is held on by a handful of bolts up under here, up along the front. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this unbolted. And then we should be able to start getting access to the AC compressor and the alternator. So stand by on that one. And by the way, we are going to be doing this air compressor ourselves. So we're going to be evacuating it with a evacuating pump, putting gauges on it, and filling it with what's R134Y refrigerant ourselves. So we're doing the whole everything ourselves here. So stand by. All right, guys, back. Here's the plastic piece. Keep them off the front. Here's the bolts. Put them in there just to show you. Now we have access to the air conditioner, compressor, whatever else, connectors and hoses. So still got to take this piece off. So I'm going to flip around pretty quick for me, have the air ratchet, but you know, you can do it by hand. It's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and get this plastic piece off the outside here in the wheel well, and then we'll probably have a good access to start taking some real stuff apart. So stand by. Okay, so here's this plastic piece. 3 bolts, pretty straightforward. Now you can see why you have to do this, because now you can get access to things like air compressor pump, tensioner, and then alternator up here. And you can see it's impossible to do from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look here, analyze what we need to start taking apart, and then we will start taking this baby apart. So stand by. Okay, so what I did was I took a bunch of pictures just so I have some still photos to reference. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the belt off. I'm going to do this with one hand, but essentially 19 millimeter. Look here on the tensioner. You'll see this kind of nut there, not the bolt below it, but this nut here. You just put your breaker bar with a 19 millimeter, preferably a half-inch drive, and then we're going to go ahead and you can see when you release that, it releases the tension on the belt, right? And then you can release it. Now you got the belt loose. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that back out of the way, lay it off to the side, inspect that later, see if we need to replace it. All right, so that gets the belt off. And yeah, from here, you know, it's my best guess. But what I think scared shit out of me. The thing I need to do is like pull some of these wires off. I think there's some wires in the back. Might be the alternator. But let's get this compressor off first. We obviously got these 2 bolts here holding the compressor on. I don't know if there's any bolts up top. And then we have these lines, which normally you would let this compressor hang. But we're changing this compressor out because it's barely getting cold. I put gauges on it and, you know, high pressure's off. It's getting cold, but not cold enough. So tried charging it. That doesn't help. So pretty convinced that the air compressor, the AC compressor is bad. And then as far as the alternator goes, you know, the battery light keeps going on and off inside the car. Start the car up, turn everything off, lights, accessories, everything off. You pull the ground on the battery and the car dies. So that pretty much tells me it's the alternator. So let me go ahead and get started taking a few bolts out. I'm probably going to start with these 2 here, and we'll see if we can't get this compressor. I'm fairly sure there's one more bolt up top. I can feel it, but I don't know if you can see it. But back up in here, there's another, I think there's another bolt. So we'll get that. I'll try to get a light in here, maybe get a little better view, but yeah, you know, not convenient. But you know, $3,000 or more to change it at the dealer, both units. So $500 gets me both parts, and you know, day of my time, and we'll have her done. Okay. So what I've done so far is basically disconnected this cable. Cable connects to here on the air compressor pump, and here looks like, I don't know, This pan, I guess that's probably like oil pan. So maybe it's a little pressure sensor, not sure. Anyway, and then it has a little clip here that hold just a wire holder, you know, cable management. And probably don't have to do that. Maybe you do if you're just doing alternator replace, because if you're doing that, you would just drop this AC unit and kind of let it hang and get the alternator out. But since I'm replacing both, you know, I disconnected it, getting it out of the way. So next, I think we're going to go ahead and take these two bolts out and then try to identify any other bolts. There's you can see this bolt right there, right? That's way up there where I can feel it, but I can't see it. I can see it with the phone. So then we got to get those 3 bolts out and get this compressor down. And then I'm going to have to evac the unit and get the air out of the line so I can take this compressor entirely out, get the refrigerant out. So let me get started on that and I'll come back to you with some more. All right, guys, as you can see, air seat compressor is down. This top right bolt, that was a pain in the ass. And you can see it's right up against the line. Like, I don't even know how I get it out of there. I am taking the line off, but if I wasn't, I'd probably have to do something or just get another bolt because that baby, I don't know. But since we're taking the line off and everything, well, I guess it doesn't matter. If you're replacing the AC unit, you got to take the line off. If you're not, then the bolt's fine where it is. But it was still hard to get to. And now you can see we have like way more access to the alternator. So yeah, here we go. Looks like there's a plastic piece here. We got some wire connectors. Obviously some bolts. So we're going to go ahead and work on this. Let me take a look, see what I got to do to get all this apart. And then I got to vac these lines and take them off the AC unit. So anyway, getting closer. So AC unit is off. Now we need to take this pulley here and move it over to the new one. And you can do that by popping that off, this cover off, and then we'll take that bolt out. Okay, the idle pulley is moved over to the new alternator, and we're going to go ahead and start putting things back together. So the first thing in is the alternator. Okay, alternator's on. You can see down there. All right, there's the alternator back in position. Underneath. There you go. So this part of the frame is slotted. So what I suggest is get this positioned, put the bottom bolt in first, because then it's a slot. Then you have a little bit of movement, and then you can go up top and get that top bolt aligned. But this was a job right here, getting those bolts back in, getting it aligned. But that's what I figured out is the best option. Now we're going to go ahead and put the AC compressor back on. All right, AC pump and alternator back on. All the cables are connected. Kind of hard to see the alternator now, but you can see it up there. So basically 4 bolts the AC unit back on into AC lines. Those just get bolted back on. Now we're going to put the belt on. Okay, so started it up, belt's back on. Alternator seems to be charging, so now we're evacuating the system. So I have my gauges on here, an evac vacuum pump, and you can see I am getting negative pressure on the gauges. So let this run about a half an hour. Then we're going to go ahead and connect the refrigerant to the car, turn on the valves, shut the high side off, and go ahead and charge it up.